Well, I mean, I get we started, so we're on. So tell the story. So I'll repeat it. You had told me when we partnered, I'd known you for a few years, and finally you moved some business over to me,
Hmm.
and you had said, "Phil, I just want one thing from my representative. I just want a birthday card."
Yeah, a birthday card.
And
11/29. Just
11/29.
mail it, email. I don't care.
Well, 11/29 came, and I realized that I hadn't bought or mailed a card, so I drove it out that night.
Oh, I totally remember. I couldn't believe it. And it was a big card.
Was it?
It was a big card. It wasn't a $1.99 card. It was a nice card.
I think I got it at the jewel around the corner from your house,
I don't
or the
care.
Osco, I think.
I don't even
And you
care.
were out to dinner, I
And
think,
even if
that night.
I was, and even if it was a $1.99, it's just the fact that you remembered my birthday. That was one of the things that my old insurance agent did every year, and like at Christmas time. And then I switched because I had some credit issues because of my daughter who
Okay.
had several tickets and whatever. So we had to go to like a generic B-rated insurance company, and I never got a birthday card from
And you
them.
almost didn't get one from me.
Yeah, well, I did. Doesn't matter. Like I was like, yeah, very thoughtful, and it's a little thing that means a lot that people probably forget about. It's just a little thing.
Well, you didn't answer your phone. I had called a couple times because I'm there. It's November, so it's a little bit darker.
Yeah,
And you didn't answer your phone, and you weren't answering the door buzzer, right? Because you're in a really nice condo.
yeah.
And so I rang your neighbor, and and he came to the door, and I said, "Hey, my name is Phil. This is for Allison. It's her birthday
It's her
card.
birthday.
So did he pput it under the door for
It
you?
it was, yeah, yeah.
But I think I talked. Didn't I text you? And I
You
think I
did,
told you you'd called me back. You were at
yeah,
dinner.
yeah. It's the little things, right?
I think so.
That it's a lost, forgotten thing of a card. Now you hand delivered it. You personally drove it to my house. But I mean, even snail mail is fine. Or even I'm getting actually, you get emails that are birthday cards, and it's like, that's great. It's just a little thought that I think goes a long way. So I do remember. I forgot about that
It's kind of a funny
actually.
story with
Yeah,
me driving, but
you were all stressed out, worried
a
about
little bit stressed out. What when somebody lays
silly,
the rule,
silly.
Phil, the rule is this is my only expectation.
I was
And I looked
totally
at the calendar
serious.
that day, and
Yeah.
I failed the expectation in my first round.
Well,
Right, it was the first year.
but you
We
didn't.
got it done.
I mean, how hard is it to remember somebody's birthday? I mean, with our phones and with calendars, they make it so easy.
Look, here's the reality though. When you put the birthday on your calendar and don't give yourself a notice a week in advance to mail the card, that's where I think the breakdown happened.
That is, I could see that. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you get caught up in the day to day
And then now you have to
life and
drive it
work and
over. I
drop
mean,
it
you could
over.
call Uber now. Hey, call Uber.
That would be I think that'd be disingenuous. I think you should hand deliver it at this rate.
I mean, if you want to go the next level,
So we
but
we went there, and it started with, I think, me cold calling you.
you did
Do you
cold call
remember
me.
that?
I do. I remember that. I had just made a move from attorney's title, ATG,
Okay.
and you had called, and I am a cold caller. I mean, we have to make phone calls. So when somebody calls you, I'm very interested in hearing how that conversation goes because I'm picking up tips and pointers from that person that's calling me and soliciting me. And I do remember that. I think you called me a couple times, and I think I listened to your
Maybe.
voicemail. I can't remember. That was when was that? It was a few years ago. 4 years ago?
It was just before COVID, so late 19.
Yep.
I had hired a new employee,
Hmm.
Julie, and she's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" All right, she kind of knew the job role, and I'm like, "Well, let's get on the phone. Let's call somebody." And we just randomly called you, and you answered.
Do you know that's how I got my previous insurance agent? He hired like his aunt, and this was in 1992. I had just gotten married, and I think he just opened up a farmer's insurance company, and he hired his aunt, and she was making phone calls, and she called the house, back when we had landlines,
Mhm.
and next thing you know, he's at our house, presenting all this insurance, and I stuck with him for years. That is how we got to my previous guy. So that those phone calls, if you have the right person making the phone calls, which you did, so I was intrigued, and I do remember them. Like, yeah, let's chat. What's going on? What are you doing? What's going on?
Well, Mark Cuban just said that when he started his company, I forgot the name of it. It was the broadcasting network that he started. I was just watching it on Masterclass, but he had
I
said
don't
at
know.
one point in time when his business was worth the most, he had 350 employees. 300 of those employees were in sales and marketing.
300.
300 of the 350 were in sales and marketing. So I think the lifeblood of any company is sales. And
I agree.
I agree. And I think too that now he talks about managing his balance sheet, or managing his cash flows, right? Managing his costs, I should say.
Hmm.
But he talks about, sales being the lifeblood of a business.
And nobody likes to do it. Nobody likes to pick up the phone and make those calls. And they say that like CEOs and presidents of companies will actually pick up the phone, like, and have conversations with people. So you just got to have the right person on the other line. Making those calls. I call it dialing for dollars.
Yeah.
Having those conversations and having the dialogue, and somebody on the other side, like myself, being intrigued with what do you got? What do you have going on?
Well, it's pick your pain.
Pick
Right?
your pain.
Pick your pain. Right? It sucks picking up the phone. It sucks, closing the door and putting the do not disturb sign on.
Yep.
And I think people avoid it. People avoid things that hurt. What I found about successful people, which is something I want to dig in with you a little bit later, is successful people are the ones that do the things that unsuccessful people won't.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say pick your pain, it sucks getting the rejection. It sucks having people hang up on you.
You turn it into a game. You turn into it a game. You're like.
But what sucks worse is not having a job, not being able to feed your kids, not being able to pay the mortgage, not having business relationships. So I always thought of it as when I don't want to make the call, it's just pick your pain. What's worse?
It's worse not being able to take care of your family.
Amen. So
financial distress, the worst pain.
So Mark Cuban talks about 300 to 350 people were in sales and marketing. So I think, and you just said it, sales cure all.
Cure all.
But I think to get there, you have to be a pretty driven person, which you are. I think that's what attracted me to you, right?
You do, yeah. Other than the pretty face.
No. I think we should dig into that later because I think it's a false accusation. I don't think it's true.
It's not.
I mean, you have a pretty face, but that's not why I called you.
I know. I'm sounding a little conceited, but I think
well, before we dig in there, when I started this business, so I was a single dad. We had joint custody, but I had residential custody in 2006. And through that process, I just wanted stability, right? That stable paycheck.
That is exactly what we want.
Exactly.
As any parent, single parent or two parents.
I think stability is important.
Stability is very important. And it's hard when you're a single parent because you only have half the stability. And you were
a
one-man show.
Too.
I was, yeah.
How many years?
God, my daughter is now 28 and my son's 26 he is now. So 24 years. I was a single parent for 24 years. Raised them pretty much on my own.
And your daughter just got married, or
she's getting married? She's engaged. Yes, we have the 25th.
You guys just had a big event in Arizona, right?
Yeah. We had the shower.
Are you excited?
I'm excited. This is what it's really about. So, talking about going way back to, going through a divorce and raising your children and being a single parent, at the end of the day, like all we really want is we want stability and we want our children to be confident and independent and good humans. And however we have to get there, and being a single parent is really hard. So seeing her and my son, both of them, I'm on the other side of the rainbow, right? Like I did my job. I don't know how I did it, but I guess I do know how I did it, but it was not easy. And so now you're sitting here, she's getting married and she has such a bright future ahead of her. And it is very rewarding. It really is. But, going through it, oh man, I could tell you stories. So many stories of redirecting and shifting and getting up and going through all the teenage challenges. And then on top of it, both of my kids have disabilities. And, so not only was I a single parent looking for stability, not in a healthy, normal relationship, didn't have a real good partner. And then you're sitting here, like it's just so rewarding. It really is so rewarding because, a lot of parents struggle with their children, not being able to hold down a job or, having drug addictions or alcohol addictions or mental, some type of mental.
Well, you did it.
Mental. What's the word I'm looking for? Stability, depression, mental challenges, right? For whatever reason. But yeah, I did it. So, I'm on the other side of the rainbow. And it's just starting to kick up for me, which is really exciting. So, yeah.
I don't know. I've lived it too, right? The life but I had a good support group around me. So it sounds like
Mhm.
maybe, you weren't as blessed as me, right? I had parents that were a block away. I had brother and sister that weren't married yet that were very close. So they
Mhm.
helped me out. But how do you get through that? I
Well,
mean,
I did
like,
have my mother.
okay,
My mother, I had, my mother did end up moving in with me. When I got
okay,
divorced, I took the my proceeds from the divorce
okay.
and I bought a couple homes, investment properties, and one of them my mother lived in, and things got really tight. We started to go through the crash in '08, and so I ended up having to sell the apartment, the condo that my mother lived in, and she moved in with me, and she was my saving grace. She really was, and with that, my mother, my children are very close to her, and she was there as a huge support for me. So yeah, so my mom was really uh, my backbone, I would say.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah. So now she's retired and moved back to help take care of my grandmother, and we're all adulting. We're all, you know, um, I guess living our own lives now. But yeah, she was a huge source for me, and she actually raised me as a single mother, coincidentally. So I think she saw. But my kids are very close to her today.
Well, your drive is, it's easily noticed, if that makes sense. When I started this company or my company 10 years ago, one of the first things I did was, right, open up a Facebook account, go on LinkedIn, and I just was friending or partnering or liking anybody that was in an industry that could possibly help send business my way, looking for referral partners. And so when you looked at my Facebook or Instagram, or not Instagram, LinkedIn feed, it was loaded with people in title,
Hmm.
mortgage brokers, real estate agents.
You could really work with a lot of different people.
You can,
You
or
really
I can,
can.
for
You have a
sure,
lot of different opportunities and um, people that you could network with.
for sure. But
Yeah.
you were fantastic because as you build this database of contacts in your
Hmm.
social media, somehow or another, Facebook or whatever the platforms are, they seem to find people make it to the top of the feed. And,
Yeah.
and I'm not, everybody
Yeah.
understands what I'm talking about,
Yep.
but
The algorithms.
the algorithms, but
Yep.
you were always up there along with many others.
Yeah.
And so Julie sat in that chair with me that day. It was her first day. I hired her as an account manager, which is kind of unique in my industry to have somebody just committed to managing accounts.
Hmm.
And I said, "You're gonna have some downtime, and in the downtime, we just make outbound calls looking for new partnerships." And she's like, "Well, what do I do?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Let's pick up the phone and call some people." And you're the first phone call we made, and here we
I was at
are.
the top.
Yeah,
I was at the top.
and
Yeah.
then so we had a pretty candid conversation. I think it was a good conversation, if I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Um, then COVID hit, and you called me shortly thereafter and said, "Hey, I'm starting this networking group.
Yeah.
Would you like to do that?" And my response was obviously yes. Who wouldn't, right? Because the world had shut
Why
down,
not?
and it was every Friday morning. By the way, we've mentioned you a few times. So Tim has been on, and
Yeah.
Sabrina,
Yeah.
and in both cases, I've met both of them through you.
Yeah.
So I think your diligence in being successful, your commitment to being just a hard worker is part of the reason that you've been so successful. But I also think you're a great dot connector.
I am. That would probably be my superpower.
I think that is your
Going
superpower.
back and thinking about, getting on Facebook and getting on LinkedIn, like I've had to make a lot of pivots and a lot of different changes and turns. And along the way, one of the things is you never burn a bridge. So through those encounters, you have all these relationships um, and introducing people and always trying to serve others. You know, um, that's pretty much what that whole group was about. We went into COVID and on shelter in place, and I just taken a new job in the commercial space, and I'm like, what the heck? We're going to be locked in these homes and these COVID caves and not have any relationships or communication with people. How are we going to survive and continue to evolve? And I just took a new job with, you know, you have bills and you have responsibilities and you have student loans and you have
Kids,
kids,
all the
like what are we
above.
going to do? So I'm like, I'm going to put some people in front of others. Why not? What's the worst that's going to happen, right? Worst that's going to happen is we're going to make some friendships and maybe do some business together and have actually I think that ended up being more like a group that really gave us a lot of stability when we were all going through some dark times, and then here we are 4 years later. Is that what was it 4 years
Yeah.
now? Four
Well,
years. I mean, we've really made some great connections. Tim, Sabrina, like we've got some really solid OGs,
we do.
right? And some other people that come and go, and I think we've got a good core group of people that I think you find your people.
It's changed though. So your career changed a little bit.
It
Again,
did.
your path or your commitment to success, right? So your path has turned a few times, I would
It
say, or
has.
changed.
Yeah.
So you went from, well, you were a mortgage lender at one point in time,
Yeah, that's when
right?
I started out.
And
Started out.
what were you in? Were you in residential title? I think when you started Coffee Talk.
I had just started in the commercial
Okay,
Stewart National's commercial division, which I
you're right.
chased for 2 years.
You're right.
2 years I chased Stewart to get in there. Finally got in, and we went on lockdown that week. I was like, oh God, you got to be kidding me.
And a lot of things changed with COVID, including
Oh,
obviously the
yep,
the real estate industry too.
yep. But I started back in. Funny story is I knew I was going to be getting divorced, and I'm like, I need to have a job that's going to give me flexibility,
Right.
and help bring in some income along with getting child support, but be able to raise my children and have the flexibility. And I was actually going to work as an insurance broker, which an agent, I guess. I wish I would have done it back then, but I was afraid of not having stability and starting a business. So I ended up going and working at a bank in home equity loans, um, thinking that I might be able to have flexibility. And I shifted, and I actually did a couple different positions at a bank that was recently sold to a larger bank, and ended up leaving there on the mortgage division, and then went to title, and then stayed in the title for
And then
quite a
we
few
had some friends
years.
in the title business,
Yep,
right? Some mutual friends.
yep, yep.
Well, Coffee Talk was great. I think your path has been.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
I'm
It's
sure it's
been
been a journey though.
yeah, it has been. It's been a journey. It's been fun. It's been you questioning, if is it worth my time, and then I would have some coaches that which we were talking about Mark Cuban. I've paid coaches to coach me, and you always go back like, what's your ROI, and then I'm like, well, it's helping other people. Am I getting anything out of it? I really don't know, but I've made some great relationships, and I don't think I would be where I am today or have had the opportunities if it weren't for other people, to be honest. I mean, that's kind of really how I've had to reshift and redirect and go in different directions for a long time. If I didn't know people or I didn't have those relationships, I probably wouldn't be where I am today.
Well, with the job you took on now, and you're with Collie now.
Was laid off several times being on the residential side. I left the commercial side, um, and went to another national company for title
I
services.
remember.
Laid off, massive layoff, and took another position, massive layoff. And then I'm like, well, maybe I need to go back to 1992 and be an independent and have my own business. Which in the meantime, I've always had several different sources of income,
Okay.
and I had my real estate license. So I ended up here at Quality Commercial, working in the commercial industrial space, and I'm going to not be laid off. I won't be laid off. My destiny now really truly is in my control. The market isn't the greatest, but um, there's not going to be somebody coming in and you know laying off 30 people in one day, and my destiny is in my own hands, which I've had so much different experience. Pretty much have covered everything and done everything in the real estate industry. So why not? Thankfully, I have relationships, right? And that's where most of our world comes back to. Who do you want to do business with? Who do you want to give your insurance to? Who do you want to get a birthday card from? I want to get it from a friend. I want to get it from somebody I like to
Well,
do business with that I know.
well, I'll tell you what. I chose the path of stability too, but I think you just said it best. I think that with stability though comes restrictions. When you're self-employed, you're right. You might not get laid off, but ultimately you control it. So when you give up stability, you gain a little bit of control, and I think with that comes an element of fear.
It
But I
is.
think fear is a wonderful motivator for me.
It can be.
It's
It,
wonderful.
it can be for some, but for others, it can be debilitating.
I think
Especially,
so.
oh yeah, that's why I chose not to do it. I wished I wouldn't have. I wished I would have had a really good circle and influence of people that would have been like, do it. You're going to be fantastic. You will figure it out. Put your big girl pants on and do it. But I didn't have that, and I think I lived in fear. And my real focus was more being a parent, being a mother,
Yeah, I
and
wouldn't.
not having that.
Yeah, I don't think we could not. I don't think anybody could ever criticize or question you for that. Putting
But
your kids above yourself is important, and
yeah,
there is a piece that comes with stability because your focus is on raising the kids, as mine was at the time. And so,
yeah,
going out on a limb, taking on self employment, taking those risks, and taking control is not the most attractive thing to somebody who's just trying to figure it out and make sure that the kids are safe and happy and healthy and all
right,
those good things, right? So,
right. But hindsight, I think that it may have been a mistake
hmm.
because you let fear drive you. I would be in a I would have a whole book of business. If I would have done that and had the support and the gonads, the confidence, I think I might be in a completely different place. Maybe I wouldn't have had so many layoffs and job changes and stress and highs and lows. Maybe not. I think what's important is that you have good people in your life
I agree with you.
that
Or
encourage you.
maybe the perspective can be is maybe your path led you here at the right time too.
You know what? Yeah. I mean, that's the faith I have to write on. But I think that it's important that having those people in your life that are cheerleaders that truly have your
Well,
back.
you've developed that.
Yeah.
Going back to coffee
Yeah.
talk, we have retired attorneys or recovering attorneys, right?
Yeah.
is that Bob that says that or
No,
Bruce?
that's
Bruce
Bruce.
says, I'm a
Bruce.
recovering
Yeah.
attorney.
Bruce Hopple.
He's
Hey,
he's
Bruce.
he's a character.
He
He's
is.
great. We got to hang out. We met up at where were we at in Oak Brook just
We're at
2 weeks ago.
Labara.
Labara.
Yep.
We're giving free plugs here apparently.
Bruce is mad at
That's right. No
me
one's
because
watching.
I didn't go work for him. But part of my experience and what I've learned is that you really need to have mentoring and you need to have training, right? I'm a industrial commercial broker, and I need to have somebody that's gonna kind of hold my hand and take me under their wing.
Yeah.
And actually at Colley they have that. They have somebody who's been in the industry that's semi-retired and has been a sales manager at some of the largest commercial brokerages in Chicago. So he's my coach, he's my trainer. So Bruce, I'm sorry, but you need to understand. But yeah,
You've had
Bruce
other good
is.
people in your life,
I
for sure in
do,
this
but it's been a
group.
journey.
It has. Who's the
My
original group? We had I don't think Russell's original, but wasn't Caroline an original?
Caroline,
Who else do you think might have been an original?
Louis Borsellino,
That's right, Lewis. We just saw Lewis.
Rolf. Um,
Me and Sabrina talked about this. I would like to reiterate my first impression of Rolf. So most people had the cameras on, right? Their cameras on. So you're talking. It was a Zoom meeting you would do. Rolf would never have his camera on until he spoke. In other words, don't look at me until I'm talking. And then when I'm done talking, you could look at my picture. And the picture was him with the big
gangster.
It was like a chain with the dollar sign medallion that was maybe you have to.
Yep.
I remember I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
And then come to find out he had 2 successful deals on Shark Tank.
He did.
And Rolf,
semi-pro golfer.
And Rolf has become a pretty good friend of mine, actually. We talk probably bi-weekly.
Yeah. He's got a way of still keeping his foot. He doesn't show up all the time, but he's got a way of still keeping his foot and his relationships going through the group.
Well,
he's as effective as some of the others.
I brought him up because I did want to make fun of him again. I'm going to talk to him probably in a couple of weeks, or a couple of days, I should say. But I also brought him up because you had mentioned you had good people around you, and I tried to reiterate it. But he's one of those good people.
Yep.
That I think
he is.
He's an interesting line of business too.
Hard money lender. And how I met Rolf is we were at a classic realty open house in the city. They just opened up a brokerage in the city, and he was there. And I believe my girlfriend who works for Redfin now, Stephanie Miller, had invited him. But there was just random people, and we became fast friends because he's a hard money lender. And in real estate, there's always got to be a way to get money. And if you can't get it through a bank, which nobody wants to lend right now, you've got a guy.
Guys
and
like
Rolf was at Renovo at the time, but he now has his own company.
Yeah.
And he's pretty successful.
He's uber successful.
He is. He's
But I would say you and him probably have similar characteristics. Some of those traits that I talked about, just the relentlessness and get up in the morning and do it.
Yep.
Right? You wake up in the morning probably with a mission, I'm guessing.
Yes, I do.
And you've been busy lately. Getting you in here was tough. What do your days look like now that you're with Colley?
Well, it's different.
Well, tell me. I mean, you're
it
building
is.
this book. You're learning what you're doing, right? You're introducing yourself, your new career.
Yeah,
But
what's interesting is it's a different type of stress. The
what do you mean?
stress is it's not that somebody's micromanaging me. It's my own stress of my own expectations of myself. Which I had, the alter ego. Her name is Alice, and she
Mm-hmm.
is not very nice. And
She's that nice.
she is not, and she's
That looked like the chocolate.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That I have very high expectations, and I know I have all the fundamentals of what it's going to take: the drive, the calls, the CRMs. Like I have all the tools. Maybe I might not be the expert in the industrial real estate, but I've got somebody that is. So it's a matter of doing all the things that I've been doing for the last 20 some years, right? And applying that. So the stress is a little bit different to me. Um, so my days have always been pretty much the same. I get up pretty early, 5 a.m., and I'm working out. You always start my day off working out and getting some um, cardio and doing some weight training, and then making some type of a smoothie breakfast, whatever, eggs, and then getting on the computer and seeing what I have tasked up for the day. But it's different. We're learning a lot. I'm in some training. I have I've also kind of have become, because the team that Dan has created. Dan sold the company. He's the
Dan
founder.
Dan Colley.
Dan Colley sold the company, and he is now just has a team. And he created the team, which is myself, and then Mark Wilson, who came from the office space, who was laid off after 25 years of being in the commercial office space. I've become a coordinator because I'm a jack of all trades. And I've become
What do you mean a coordinator?
a coordinator of coordinating everything that might go on for whether it's CRM, making phone calls, entering information, coordinating our calls and time with our marketing team,
Okay.
just anything that's going on. And we have a couple properties that we have listed, and we're co-sharing or co-listing them with another broker who's outside of the area. So there's a lot of coordination that goes on. So it's a little different, but I'm finding myself in those roles more now. And then we have some email campaigns that have gone out, making sure those lists are tight. It's different, but the pressure is not from anybody internally. It's really from Alice, who's in my head, who she's kind of crotchety and judgmental and hard, and has very high expectations.
Yeah, I think
So
I think successful people are typically their worst critic.
yeah, and then sometimes you got to tell her to sit down and shut up because it's the the um the stress and it's different. It's different now. It's different.
I think I've lived a little bit different industry, but I think I think I understand fully.
And I don't have children to get up and make breakfast and get them off to school, and it's different now. It's just managing me and my mind and my time, and then onboarding, and then looking at, are you doing the right things? Are your activities in alignment with what?
How do you evaluate if you're making a good decision with your time?
How do I evaluate that?
What's your return on your time? When I started this business,
We've talked about it.
I had
You and I.
I had a task list of what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and many years ago, I worked for a rental car company, a big green one,
It's a big green one.
and climbed some ladders pretty well there. I think I had some levels of success, and my boss at the time signed a handful of us up who he thought might have opportunity to move upwards, or
Mm-hmm.
there was potential in us, but maybe we weren't very good day managers of our time.
Mm-hmm.
So he signed us up for a class in Oak Brook. There's a company called Franklin Covey.
Yes, I love
So
Franklin.
Franklin Covey, they're the old school daily planner.
Love Franklin.
I think they've transitioned into the 21st century with technology and Outlook and integrating that way. But my biggest takeaway from there is managing your blocks of time.
True.
And so I'd show up to work sometimes on a Monday morning, and the first thing I would go to would be the email, which I call the trickle, right? And one thing I've
Mm-hmm.
learned about email is 100% of the time, if I'm receiving an email from somebody, it's not what's on my agenda that's going to help me move my company forward. It's
Mm-hmm.
somebody else's agenda. So if somebody else is sending me something to do, and I jump on it first thing, it could derail my day.
Right.
So one of the things that I've tried to do now, and I've fallen off of it a little bit, right? When something makes you really successful, we tend to stop doing it. Why humans do that, I have no idea, but I'm guilty of it. But time blocking my day has been critical. So Monday morning from 8:15 to 9:15, I'm doing this, and from 9:15 to 10:30, I'm doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And so every day that alert goes off my calendar, Phil, it's time to prepare
You
for
have
your meetings
timers?
next week.
Does your calendar go off in
It
timers?
does.
Yeah,
It
I'm a big
does.
timer
It
girl.
does. Sometimes I ignore it though, because if I'm really into a project. But what I found is when I drift off of that time block schedule,
Mm-hmm.
a couple things happen. I'm not balanced. And then you live the life of the unsuccessful salesman,
Yeah.
right? Some months are really successful and profitable. You've got good paychecks coming in, and the next month you're not. And I think the reason is right, you're prospecting. Then you start to get some return. You start having meetings. You start closing business. And when you're
Right.
closing business, you're not prospecting.
Right.
When you're not prospecting, there's no sales coming in the next month. And so it's that balance and a commitment to balance that's important. As a multi-line company, right, we do insurance and securities.
Mm-hmm.
We do it for individuals and businesses. It's important that I time block
Certain
that
segments.
certain
Certain
segments. I might want to
segments.
call business owners and talk to them about their benefits
Mm-hmm.
program for their kids. I might want, or for their employees. I might want to talk to them about Illinois Secure Choice. We might be time to talk about their group health benefits. It might be time to talk about their 401k benefits. So if I don't block those things off, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, a year, 2 years can go by,
Right.
and all of a sudden that portion of revenue that used to be substantial in your business could trickle off or could lose the percentage of the total revenue coming in. So time blocking has allowed me to be intentional with my time. I don't think I'm perfect at it, but being intentional with our time is the key to success. Time is structure,
Structure. Yeah.
and time is your most valuable asset. I was just watching, we talked about a second ago, Mark Cuban on Masterclass. Mark Cuban said one of the things his dad taught him at a very early age is time is your most valuable asset.
It is.
And my dad told me the same thing. And when you're young, you ignore it.
Now you get it.
And when you start to get it, but the problem is I think with me, you don't get it until you just decide to listen.
Or you want to receive the information.
Right.
Or you're looking.
Whatever it is. But sometimes you don't
Yep.
even realize it until you do it.
Yep.
You know, and I think you have to be of the mindset to elicit some change. Like, I'm ready for change. I'm ready to go into business for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to fire this thing up. What am I doing tomorrow at 8:15?
It's very freeing.
It's very what?
It's very freeing. It's freeing. It's
It is. Yeah, I
well,
think freeing is the right term, but it's also a little bit of your own. It's a discipline more than a passion, more than a game, more than money or monetary success. I think it's just a matter of being disciplined to be balanced. And what I found is when I planned for the year, if you remember when during Coffee Talk, I brought the booklets about annual plan,
Mhm.
about
Yep.
getting ready for the new year. I think it was for our December meeting. And very few people looked at what I handed out.
well, you were trying. You were
Ve-
trying
very,
to be
very few people.
structured, which I totally appreciate, but not everybody else does. Which is like having, you asked how do you evaluate that? Like having these type of conversations. I always end up hanging up or getting off a call going, that was my nugget. Not everybody thinks like this. Not everybody appreciates the structure and the direction and the goal. Some people just want to chit chat and have coffee and mingle. They're not.
That's okay. I don't have time to do
Well,
that.
and that's where you and I are like, oh, no. I can appreciate the structure, but I also like to freestyle it a little bit, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's kind of find this happy medium because not everybody thinks like that. But you handed that out, and I know people are like,
Well, what's neat about
what
it?
is this?
What's
And I'm
neat
like,
about it?
oh, he's trying to be intentional
Yeah.
about what we're doing here because he feels like he might be wasting his time.
Well, I
which-
stopped. I stopped the meetings.
Which
But the one for
sometimes you
New
are
Year's,
wasting your time.
The one that I'm sure. By the way, I'm not taking credit for this. My current manager, who's really become a personal friend and a business partner, got it from his manager and his business partner. And in that book, when you plan a year, it's about balance. They talk about what do you rate yourself from 1 to 10 in spirituality and how you are with your family and how you are with your health and how you are with your mental health. And in this book, the drawings look like they're from 1972. They might be from 1972, but that doesn't mean they've lost their effectiveness or their place in our lives today. And so I go through that thing every year. The other really cool thing I've learned from annual planning from Drew is really three things. So every year when I go into planning for the year, and I do it about mid-year too, but I look at what are three things I want to stop doing.
Oh, that you
Just
want to stop doing.
three things I want to stop doing.
I
Like, what
just
do I
heard
want to
that.
stop doing?
I heard
It might
something like
be
that.
it does three things I want to stop doing, three things I want to start doing, and three things I want to continue doing. And I think what that does, it helps shape my behavior and like, what do I need to cut out of my life? And when I say cut out of my life, I'm going to dip back to Russ Gelberg, who we could talk about Russ. I want to get Russ in here. But Russ Gelberg took us to this planning thing that his boss was putting on. And it was talking about addition by subtraction in your life.
I love that saying,
Addition.
Phil. I love that.
And his manager, and I can't remember her name. She's a very good speaker. Trisha. But Trisha's like, remember who you need to subtract. And in this training, she's like, remember I didn't say what you need to subtract, who you need to subtract from your life.
Which is painful.
It is.
It is kind of painful.
So it all depends what you want in life.
Exactly.
You had said some people want to come socialize, some people want to sit in the back of the room and talk, and that's great. But when you're trying to get somewhere, or be a single dad, or grow a company, or be a single mom, or make more money, or impact more people's lives, or create a legacy for your kids, you have to have a mission. And when you look at your day and you realize, I've got 10 hours to work today, that's it. I got 10 hours, and if I spend 2 hours of it because I am on my cell phone. We talked a little bit about a book last time again, and I'm pretending that people are going to watch all these videos. I know that's not the case. So when I was here with Sabrina, we talked about a book called Integrity Selling.
Who's that by?
I know the name. I just off top. He's on Masterclass too. James Clear.
Okay, James Clear. Atomic Habits.
And he talks about something called causality. I think is his term. And 80 to 90% or 70 to 90% of what we do throughout the day are a result of an action that we took. And so he broke it down with the cell phone. Most of the day, we're very programmed to pick up our cell phone and just take it out of our pocket, right? Our intention was it was automatic. We took it out of our pocket. But what happens now that I've picked up the cell phone? Well, I'm going to stop looking you in the eyes. I might start reading emails, texts, social media, YouTube videos, you name it, and 90 minutes are gone.
Yeah.
And hours, whatever your time is. But how many things were affected by me just reaching into my pocket and grabbing that phone? So when I started, I made a screensaver that said, put your phone down unless you have to have it. That was my first screensaver when I started my company.
As a reminder.
And I used to pick it up and I'd say, maybe I should put this down. But going back to your group, I think some people might be at the mindset or the financial, stat in their life where they can come to a networking group and just come to hang out and talk. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't even judge those people. I just need to understand that that's not where I'm at in mind.
Right.
And I hate to say
this. And that's not wrong.
Even if I was a multimillionaire and I had 30 branches and we were successful, I'm still not sure that I would choose to put my time into driving somewhere to a networking with business motivations and then not get anything accomplished. I have to get something accomplished when I'm doing it.
Right.
Or when I set out to do something, I need a sense of accomplishment. But you've been good at that. So your group has been good. I'm bringing us back full circle. You've had really good people around you. We've had Caroline. She did soil treatments, I think. You've had Kathy's been in the group for a while. We've had Rolf. Who else am I missing? We've had a lot.
Chuck Gittles from
That's right,
Commercial
Chuck.
Banking.
I haven't talked to Chuck in a while.
Yep. We've had Art Rendeck.
Art's going to be here today, actually.
We've had Sabrina. We've had Scott Silverson. I've had.
But all these people know you first name basis.
There's a lot of people who've been in and out.
But you've even had who's the guy that throws the parties and or the networking events?
Tony P.
Tony P.
I've had Gary Davidson on the attorney side. A lot of people. A lot of people, and I'll continue to invite everyone. But there's just the regulars who seem to be consistent and probably actually getting something out of it. Russ Gelberg. Russ was one of the originals, and I think that people who are actually getting something out of the group or have made connections.
I think you get out of any group what you put in, and Russ put in. Russ and I shared referrals. We tried a couple times on a few things. We have helped each other, but again, it was a commitment to look. If somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, Phil, do you know anybody who's in industrial real estate, sales or renting, sales or leasing?" If I can't come up with Allison Malzone at that point in the conversation, then something is drastically wrong with me. But I think what a good partner needs to do is understand how to find opportunities for our friends too.
Yep.
When I say friends, when we recommend somebody, there has to be a peace of mind they're going to take care of them. And we have to trust that what they do is a good product and they're great at what they do. But I do think it's incumbent upon us to look for those opportunities for our partners. For instance, I'll mention Carlton. Most people need a level of an estate planner. I brought him to talk to one of our events. He said, "Hey, if anybody here over the age of 18 or if anybody here has a child over the age of 18, you should probably have a power of attorney, just in case something happens." The room had a bunch of us in it with kids at the age of 18 or older, and none of us had a POA.
Really?
For our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's understanding and listening to when people talk, which is what we tried to do. We tried filming Brian.
Mm-hmm.
You did the filming.
That's right.
I think, Nick.
Yeah.
So we tried, and that's part of what this process is too, Allison. I don't want to give you a bunch of expectations with what this recording, this podcast, these clips are going to be, but what I want to do is not so much of a million viewers on the podcast, because an OBA is something I have to deal with as a financial advisor anyways, right? Generating revenue and outside business activity, that's a problem in itself. But I think that the purpose is to let people know who you are, what you do.
I think you've done a really good job at that, Phil. We talked about that. How I said, you only pick pretty people. and you're like, that's not really the case. But when you called me, now being a female, period, there's a lot of challenges that come along with that, right? Dealing with people that are powerful. Sometimes you find yourself in situations where you're not in a good position as a female, and you have to stand your grounds, or sometimes it's a little too late and you figure out, I might be in a situation here. When you called me, you dropped the guard right away, right? And you had said, my intentions are sincere. And I was like, oh, okay. All right.
True.
And you have shown to be that. So, those relationships, when you made those phone calls, you drop the guard, and then people become comfortable with you, right? And now I'm like, well, whether you open the conversation up, dropping the guard to another woman, knowing that this might be an issue, and I just want to make sure that she knows that I'm coming from.
The problem
place,
is
really important.
I didn't make the world what it is. It's just I have to live in the world, and
which is very real. It's very real.
I also think that what's amazing about what I'm seeing happen in my peer group and on my social media feed is I see a lot of women with high levels of success. And so maybe that's why they're at the top of my feed. I don't think it's
exactly.
I think that's why they're at the top of my feed. And so when I see success, I'm drawn to it because if somebody's successful, at the bare minimum, if we do coffee, the bare minimum, they could say, "Hey, Phil, we're not going to be a good referral partner, but I might pick up a thing or two from them." And I've met with some pretty smart, successful people, and I've picked up a thing or two. In fact, I'm addicted to learning. It's the whole masterclass thing, the books I listen to, the trainings I'm doing, right? It's just, to be great at what you do, you just can't be stagnant.
No, you cannot.
You have to just keep growing or developing something because the only constant in business is change. Mark, I'm going to go to Mark Cuban again. We're just talking about it.
Constant
Mark
change.
Cuban was asked on this masterclass. So I recommend people watch it, and I don't get paid for masterclass, but for selling masterclass. But he said, "Hey, do you have a business plan? Have you ever written a business plan?" And Mark said, "Sure, I did what everybody did. I went online, I found a template with 1,000 questions. I plugged in my numbers and went with it." But Mark Cuban said, if you're at any point in running your business and you find yourself saying, "Well, I'm going to do this because that's what I wrote down," it's okay to reanalyze. He said, "Don't be dogmatic about it."
Dogmatic. There's that word.
Don't be dogmatic about it. Well, you don't have to do something just because you wrote it down, right? It doesn't have to be that static. Is my understanding of it.
Okay.
But what's really important, I think you said, is business is constantly reevaluating your position. You're constantly reevaluating it. You could be a month in, I need to reevaluate my expenses. You could be a month in, and I need to reevaluate my training or my products or my price point, whatever it may be. The only constant should be change. I think continue to develop yourself is important, and I think you've proven that. I do. We saw Coffee Talk go from you were in residential title and you were in commercial title,
and then I went to residential.
Then you went to residential, and we kind of saw the group that we networked with around us shift a little bit, and then you moved into commercial real estate. Here
Yep.
we are today.
Yep. Well, the interesting thing is, well, you're in a great position because you can have benefit in all those types of
Look,
relationships, right?
I didn't persuade you to do this, but I am the only person in the industries that I serve in that group.
Well, and I try to keep it that way.
I know you do.
I try to keep it that way.
I know. I should probably send you guys some gift cards for some dinners or something.
No. We don't need any
I'm
gift cards.
joking.
I do like Dunkin' though, but we're
Note to
we're
self.
we are not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
We're not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
That's birthday card.
Birthday card with the gift.
But
No, but you've looked out for me.
I have looked out for you, and
1,000%.
that's out of respect of like the group is we want to have solid people. We want to have our one guy. We want to have our one person that specializes in whatever it may be. I mean, that's my opinion on it. There's a lot of groups that are out there that, that's how they keep it. Those are paid groups, but I think it's out of respect. And, you have proven to be loyal and consistent and you show up all the time, right? And I get great feedback because I do hear what other people say. I had an experience with so and so and it wasn't very good, and that's not going to be my referral partner. I want my referral partner, like I want to have a tight group, right? We all kind of do. So that was why that ended that way, and I think that it's a good business model. There's some other things that you kind of reevaluate and you're looking at, like that wasn't such a good thing.
You've done a great job.
But
You really
the
have.
one thing is it being able to shift. In the real estate, it is we all do kind of interact with each other. There's a lot of different vendors and opportunities in the real estate world, whether it's commercial or it's residential. And I've been able to keep those people because I have those relationships, and I've tried to maintain those relationships and in a way that it needs to be. So you have benefited from it, and I think some of the other lenders have as well, because lenders have had to keep shifting and redirecting as well. So it's
it's been a
been a
positive
diverse
group too.
group.
Over the last 2 or 3, well, since COVID, so I guess 4 years, a lot of heads were down, right? People were,
Yes, they were.
and a lot of people weren't making money, right? So, they're just the inventory, and we all know what happened with the real estate industry.
And a lot still aren't.
And a lot still
People
are.
are still being laid off.
But I do think though that it's been a good soundboard too for positivity. Guys like Russ, just eternal positivity.
Yep.
And
Yep.
It's been really good for that. I want to dig back in, if you don't mind, because I don't know if we did you enough justice yet. We talked about your experience. You started in real estate. Started with buying your own. You started buying your own properties.
I actually, yeah, my ex-husband and I, we had investment
There
properties.
you go. So you have investment properties. Then you get moved into title a little bit, and it came full circle. You're back in industrial real estate.
Yep.
Now, not everybody on this watching this might not know what that means. In its simplest form, what is your expertise? Where do you step in and help people?
So the industrial space is probably the only space that has done well with during COVID.
Okay.
In the real estate industry, in the commercial. So primarily it's the space where, number one, there's not a lot of females in it, and that's kind of why I chose to go in this direction. And I have a good relationship with Dan Cawley, and I felt that he would be able to guide and lead me because he has, 40 years of experience in that space. So the industrial space is specifically low coverage outdoor storage. It's not your storage units. It's not your covered units. It's covered outdoor where there's tractors, there's wiring and cabling, there is ocean containers, there are waste yards. It's the stuff that nobody wants in their backyard. Rental trucks.
Okay.
That's a space that I'm going to be really heavily focused on. And I think there's a lot of people that are getting into that space right now because they see the revenue, and it's the one segment that is doing extremely well right now.
Okay.
Problem with it is everybody wants to get in it, and there's only a few companies out there that really do well with it, that are boutique, which is what Cawley are. Boutique in that space. A lot of guys that were on the office side, as we all know, the office space is done. They're not doing well. They're handing back the keys at some of these really large office spaces in the Oak Brook area because nobody's going into the offices anymore. So that space is not doing well. You're seeing a lot of people try to shift over into different areas, and industrial is one of the largest ones. So being a female, there's not a lot of people. It's not pretty. The industrial space is not pretty. And it is basically the companies that nobody wants in their backyard. And often where we're finding is that those companies and that land and those type of spaces are owned by small businesses, mom and pops that don't even realize what they're sitting on. Next thing they know, they're zoned in a specific way that only industrial can be zoned, and they're sitting on a gold mine,
So
and they
somebody's
don't realize that.
so how can somebody help you that maybe doesn't know that space? So let me dial back. What is your territory?
My
I think
territory is
yeah.
I'm licensed in Illinois, and my market is the 88 and 55 corridor.
Okay.
Um, and something I'm working on right now is out in Kankakee. That market is really kind of untapped,
Okay.
and Dan is foreseeing the Kankakee Bourbonnais market being the new frontier, as Plainfield was.
Well, he knows his stuff. He's
He,
proven.
he does, and Plainfield and heading and that area has kind of tapped out. You've got Shanahan, Wilmington, uh, the Bourbonnais Kankakee market. Pritzker just approved quite a bit of money for
Okay.
them, so there's some really big incentives.
And so it's already zoned industrial then.
Some
So
of
that
some of the areas are. There's a lot of farmland.
there
There's a
is.
lot of farmland, and they are very open and willing to getting new businesses out there. So we have some farmland that is has been approved industrial, and we have some of that we're working on. So they're anticipating that may be the next market for industrial. And to
But you're not
see
only
it
doing
building up.
purchases though, you're doing leasing as well
Yeah.
too, correct?
Yep, doing both. Yep. I think somebody who could help me. I went to Tim Oliver's his group, his exit planning. I was the only
EPI,
his EPI.
love it.
Yep, which that was been a great introduction. He was introduced to me by Molly, a commercial broker that worked in the city. She brought him to the group, and next thing you know, here Tim is. He's our go-to guy, right? And he has the exit planning group, which he is one of the founders for the Illinois chapter.
Yeah.
So I finally went to the group, which I had to pay $50 to go to lunch, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Best $50 I spent. I was the only broker there, and everybody at that table, there was probably 30, 40 people there. That was the best group for me. All those people are dealing with business owners that are going into retirement or looking for strategies to exit their businesses. And that's the client I want. Those are the people that I want to be in front of, because a lot of them do not realize what they're sitting on, and they're finding that. So that group is a great group for me.
I think I know somebody who's been telling you to go to one of those
I
events
know.
for like 4 or 5
I
months
know.
now. I don't.
I-
Who do you think might have been telling you to go? I'm trying to think.
Probably pretty good looking.
Yeah, he's I think he's in this room with you
He's
right
in
now.
this room. I know. Well, and time.
So hearing you tell me, well, Tim talked me into going and saying how much you loved it. I said, Allison, you should have been going to this for a year now.
And because I've shifted industries and I wasn't focused so much in the commercial, that wasn't where I needed to spend my time. I didn't need to spend my time there. Now I'm like, well, it was I was very happy. Met a couple bankers, and those bankers are dealing with business owners that are positioning them to sell their businesses. And a lot of them are exactly the spot I need to be in.
We go to Nina hosts a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she's doing the next one. I could not go the last few months, but
it's a really
it's
good,
a good group.
resource for me. It's a very good
I have a
group.
lot of competitors there, so a lot of
Yes,
people
you
in wealth
do.
management.
Yes, you
But
do.
I love it because anytime you're networking with people that do what you do, I think if you go into it with the right mindset, there's always something to learn. It's always good to know people.
Yep.
And you don't always have to hate your competition. I think you could embrace that as it's a competition, right? Because you're
Mhm.
your competitor. But I don't think it's a reason not to go to an event or socialize or get to meet people.
No, and
In fact, I've gotten quite a number of referrals out of that group. It's been good.
The interesting thing about that, and this goes back to spending your time where it's best use. And somebody had told me, actually, somebody who I did a podcast with a few years ago, it was the thought of people, to get quality people at a group, you need to pay, right? And so now I don't have an expense account. Keep in mind, right? I don't have a company,
Well,
that
you
I'm
do.
s-
You're just
I-
funding the
I
expense
am
account.
funding this. So
You're
I
funding the
really,
expense
I
account.
really
yeah.
need to qualify where my time is spent, and if I'm going to pay to go to a networking event or anything.
Most of them are $20, not $50. You went to the high end one.
Yeah, I had.
It's $20.
It was really high end. It was a great group. It was
Was it in
totally.
Deer- was it-
high-end clients?
Was it in Deerfield? You're probably right.
It was in
Deerfield?
Deerfield. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
And it was
Was
The
that
best.
Mary Ann's office?
Um,
It was.
I can't remember.
I owe Mary Ann a phone call.
It was well
She's an
worth
accountant. Yeah.
well worth my
No,
time.
it's a great group for you. I think it's
Well,
a wonderful group.
it was, and every person there was somebody that I should connect with, right? And I was the only broker, so um, you know, there might be some truth in that. Like if you got skin in the game, right? You're paying to go to a networking event. Chances are you're not going to have people there that want a coffee talk. I'm using my line, but seriously, you have real people who are there with good intention.
And
So it
that's
kind of weeds out some of the people that aren't there to be serious and they're there to get something out of it. And that was a great group.
the sad thing is I'm very awkward at those environments,
At,
networking environments.
well, that's hard to believe, but that's why you have somebody like me.
I know it's like
I'm a great
when when
wingman.
I'm there. Nina's like, "Will you please go talk to people?" Phil, what are you doing? I'm like, "I don't know how to start a conversation."
That's hard to believe.
I don't mind starting conversations with people, and I enjoy engaging with people. I think that I'd like to look at myself third party, right, third person, try to do some introspect. I think I just recently, maybe in the last month or so, I think I know why I find those events uncomfortable, and it's because in order to start a conversation with somebody, you have to interrupt somebody.
Yeah.
So if I see two people
Mhm.
talking in a room, I've got to walk up mid sentence or stand there and act like they're in the middle of a story. So you have
Mhm.
to act like you're interested, even though you lost the first half.
Shimmy yourself into
You try to,
the
Yeah,
crowd.
that is awkward.
or you could
You're
say,
right.
"Hey, I'm Phil," and
Go ahead,
so
keep
and shake
talking.
it. Go ahead and keep talking. And so I think once I start talking to somebody, that I'm comfortable. But I think it's that moment that I find difficult.
You're
I should
right.
probably get better. I should get better at that. Maybe go to more of the Tony P stuff because I'm uncomfortable with it a little bit. I just
Yeah,
am.
you're right though, because you're interrupting somebody, which is could be rude, right? But then again, a lot of times people monopolize other people's time.
True.
So somebody could be monopolizing that one person's time, and that other person may be like, somebody save me,
Oh, the worst. Yeah.
right?
Well, I think
So,
I gotta use the restroom.
you know
Is
what?
always a good one.
I gotta use the right.
The fake phone ring. You're like, oh, my phone's vibrating. That's always
Your phone
good.
even light up.
Yeah.
You know what's really
That's
helpful is like having that conversation, and now you're gonna be like, and I've been in coaching and counseling for years, okay. And one of the things the coach had said to me was, what are you uncomfortable with? Now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna write this down, so the next time I'm in that situation, I'm gonna have a line, like a
line to get in or a line to get out.
a line to either or. It's a
Getting in is
script.
the tough part. Getting out is easy for me.
Well, so you got that figured out, but you're gonna have a script. Like,
Yeah.
hey, when you
No,
get a minute,
I don't need a script to get out. When I'm out, I'm out.
I mean-
I say, hey, I got to roll. Or you always ask if they've tried the food yet, right? That's a good one. Then walk over and drift over. That's a good way out. Getting in is the tough part for me.
we gotta find a script that works for you. Now you're like, okay,
Well, I've
I'm
been
not
avoiding it.
comfortable with
I
that.
typically avoid those scenarios, but
No, we're gonna drive right into it, Phil.
Well, I usually drive with Tim, but yeah, I need you
No,
to
this
help
is your
me.
challenge now. You're gonna
We'll
come up
try
with
it.
a script. What's gonna be my line?
I don't know. The thing that I try to do though, and I'm going to refer to an excellent manager that I have, and Drew.
Mm-hmm.
He always said when you go to these events, they'll bring a stack of business cards, right? And people are worried about how many business cards they can give away. He's like, stop. Worry about how many you can get.
Collect them.
But even then, like your group and like our relationship, there's also be a genuine reason to reach out to that person after the fact.
You need to
So
have
for
a
me,
nugget.
trying to talk to somebody that there wouldn't be a good business relationship with or a reason to call. So I think it goes evaluating your time, right? In addition, make sure that you're spending your time with the right person. So I guess I wouldn't be so comfortable in that exit. Like if I'm talking to somebody and they said, I realize that we're not a fit, I think I'd still be polite and listen to what they do for a living. I might not be able to get out in that scenario. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't comfortable with those type of events or networking. I think it's helpful when you have somebody. I usually try to buddy up with somebody. Like you're driving with Tim. Tim.
Yeah,
right?
but then he leaves me when we're there, though.
Well, you have to be a big boy and handle
I don't like when I
yourself.
don't like when Tim leaves me. I get
He's
scared in
not
the
going to hold your
room,
hand.
and I'm pretty close with Nina, who runs the events too. I've known Nina for a long time, and you finally got to meet Nina,
I
did you
did.
not?
I
Where
did.
do we? Oh, when Tim got that award,
Yeah.
you met Nina. That was a pretty cool event.
Well, you know what? It's kind of, you make a game out of these things. These they may be challenges for you. It becomes a game. Now, I have been doing a lot of events, and I don't have a problem going, and I don't have a problem going by myself, like, at all. The problem is all these business cards I've got. I'm a collector. I'm a business card collector, and then what do
So
I
you don't know what
do?
to do with them. You don't even remember the conversation with half of them, do you?
No, I remember. But then the ADD kicks in, and now I'm on to the next day and the
Time
next
block.
day, and
Time
then
block.
and then I've got a stack of business cards, and I'm like, I really like this person, and I need
Can
to
I
go back, and it's a month. They're not going to remember
look?
me,
Here's what I'm thinking. So
right?
first of all, you got to be a little bit fearless in owning a business, right? So you cannot. You not be, will they remember me? You got to cross that from their mind because I called you and you had no idea who I was, even though we were connected on LinkedIn, right? So that's first and foremost. But secondly, again, I'm not preaching. I'm not preaching something I came up with. I stole it. So time block.
Time
If you
blocking for
if you put a segment in your calendar on Friday afternoons at 2:30 to call 5 business cards that you've collected, and it's in your calendar, and you schedule nothing else, then you will get that done at 2 to 3:30. I'll tell you what. Almost all of my successful commercial clients that I have that weren't referred to me through a business partner,
Mhm.
I picked up the phone. I got that business owner on the phone at 3:30. So between 3 and 4:30 on Fridays is one of my most successful call times to call business owners.
Are those cold calls, Phil?
Yes, most small business owners, most small business owners let their staff go early on Fridays, including myself. And so if you call a small business, guess who's answering the phone between 3:30 and 5?
The owner.
Usually the president or the owner. And so again, that's something that's it.
You have that time
We
blocked.
could go look at my calendar right now. And also now that I have staff working for me and I have call centers at home office that set appointments on behalf.
But you did not, right?
I did not what?
You did not have all that support.
No, I didn't. But
You had to do it
so
yourself.
so the one thing I dislike about sales are the sales tactics that you were taught at a young age. Like this is how you get people to do this, and this is how you convince them, and
Oh
this is how to
yeah.
fake looking busy.
Oh, it was so.
I remember. I'm like, what is this?
Slimy.
I'm like, what is this? Like,
It's not relationships.
and people know when you're full of crap, right? When you're 21 out of
Right.
college, you're trying. Oh, I'm so busy, right? Or when somebody says, "Let me refocus," we might have to edit that part out. But when you fill and time block, you could also fill and predict your personal life. So my late nights at the office are Tuesday nights. So if my staff is going to set a meeting for me, they know it's on an evening meeting is Tuesday nights. There's also around all the time blocks I've scheduled, there's openings in my calendar. And so when my sales associate sees an opening in my calendar, she knows that that's a time slot for a meeting.
It's available.
So I'll take meetings on, and I've made it convenient for clients. I've got some morning, evenings, some evening meetings, some afternoons. I've got a variety of different times, but now we're not lying to them. Phil has a time at 3:30 on Thursday or next Tuesday at 1:15.
Because it's a standing available.
It's a standing available time slot.
They know.
And the rest of those time blocks, I'm getting the things done so that my life isn't high prospecting one month, high commissions the next, or however the wave might go. So time blocking has been something that helped me when I became self-employed, cut the umbilical cord, went to work for myself, dropped the security blanket. Time blocking was a way for me to prioritize prospecting.
So those business cards, Phil, are you telling me that I need to time block and follow up with them?
Well, I don't know what you do, but what I would do is if there's something you need to get done. This isn't a coaching session.
That is not my strength.
And you're not doing it, so just put it on the calendar. Like I've just learned if it's on my calendar, I do it. And so if you put it on your calendar and make it a repeating thing.
Calendar. I'm a calendar girl.
Yeah, maybe put on there, hey, time block this section out, call 5 of the cards. Don't try to call 50 of them.
Just 5?
5.
Start
5
small.
Or 6, I think so.
Isn't that what they say? Like if
I don't
you
do
just
your industry.
One
that's
little, it's doable. It's not going to be stressful, and then I might get some momentum and be like,
well,
I'm having some success here.
So now we're going down the rabbit hole. But this goes back to what we talked about prioritizing your time. So of those business cards, right? There's A, B, C's, and D's probably. not of quality of person, but quality of how they could probably impact your business, right? You've got that
So you're
guy or
qualifying.
gal.
Qualifying.
Well, you qualify into different buckets. And
Mm-hmm.
so and then before I make phone calls, like if I have a time set to prospect clients, my first 2 calls are easy calls. I'll call you and we'll shoot and we'll BS for a little bit. I'll call my mom. I'll call my friend. I'll call
Mm-hmm.
Tim. You know, my first couple calls are easy. You know, you just have a good time. Then say, well, these are the next 4 business cards, or these are my 5 business
Mm-hmm.
cards. These 5 people could impact my business tomorrow. I should probably call them. I don't know. That's what I would just put in the calendar. Because you're the one that said to me, I've got these cards, I haven't done anything with them.
And
So put it in the
to
calendar.
be honest with you, some of the best relationships I have are the ones that I acted on quickly, and I called them like the next day or within 2 days, and I scheduled time with them, whether it was coffee or lunch or anything, just to get in front of them.
Yeah.
Those are some of my most meaningful, deepest relationships and actual business partners and friends that, you know, it was
You got to make, in my opinion,
but I did,
too.
but I made the time, you know.
You also have to make sure that you know, I try to touch those people once a week too, or once a month.
Yeah.
I'm not great at that part. You know, those great relationships that you have. I like to make sure that, and make no mistake too. It sounds like I'm overly strategic. I'm not. Make no mistake though. My business partners tend to be people I just enjoy hanging out with and
Right.
talking to as well.
Well, and you know, the interesting thing, so you've got a couple different segments that you specialize in, right? The on the commercial side, and this is where I thought I was going to die on the vine and file bankruptcy when I went into the commercial space. The commercial industry is a longer sales cycle. There is no quick hit. It is not you're in and out in 30 days. Could be a year. This could be a sales cycle that you might be dripping on and developing a relationship with over 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it could take a lot longer.
So it probably means you need to find a new prospect at least once a month.
Probably. But that sales cycle and that segment of our universe is much longer. My insurance, I called you up one day and it's done tomorrow. But those relationships to get me to win or to want to have a conversation, but the commercial side, it's a lot.
But
It's
embrace
a lot
I would say embrace the
longer.
process. So in many times when I'm working commercial too, it's a year process because a business typically doesn't shop their insurance until renewal.
No.
And if you're going to randomly call a business, I got news for you. They renewed last month. That's just the luck of it. You have to do it with a grin and just take it, you know, as what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But a very smart person, again, once said to me, that's okay, Phil, because you're going to need business in 12 months too.
Right.
So instead of being like, well, the sales cycle is so long, you know, we reap what we sow, right? And you can't harvest anything that you haven't planted.
Planting the seeds.
And so you got to get those seeds planted. Again, that goes back to the life of a salesman, where salesperson, I should stay current with the times, right? You want to be, if you're a calendar, so what I did is I said, what are the 5 or 6 or 10 most important things, right? It was prospecting, it was networking, it was whatever those things might be. And then I put them into my calendar first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be, you know,
top priorities.
Prospecting is 4 hours a day. So if you look at your day and I prospect for 4 hours a day, there's only 4 hours left. And in that time, I have to have a couple client meetings, some coaching sessions with my employees, right? I've got to have some preparation. You have to budget some time for being a fireman.
Right.
You got to put out some fires.
Right.
And then there's paperwork processing. By the time you do prospecting, everything else has got to fall in line after that. Because if you're not prospecting,
it's the most important.
Well, not just that, but if you don't prospect the right way, all those other things are going to be irrelevant in a year because you'll be out of business.
Right. Right. You're not going to have new,
right. So it's just that prioritizing. But I would time block. I didn't want this to be a Phil coaching session, but anything that I give you is something I've learned from people far more successful than me, and all I've done was smart enough to implement it because I've realized that I don't know what I'm doing. You gotta listen to smart people.
Somebody else is doing it, right? So it's
you gotta listen to smart people.
Listen to the smart people who are successful.
So, fitness is a new journey for me. We've talked about it a few times on my podcast, but I'm just interested in something that you mentioned earlier before we started recording. You bought one of those computer things that stick up to the wall, right? With the hand, with the what?
A computer thing that you stick on the wall.
Well, you don't work out with weight anymore. You work out with.
It's tonal. Yeah, it's a magnetic weight resistance. They're actually selling them at Best Buy now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Best Buy is now selling fitness equipment.
Yeah, they're
Remember back in the day, you just hit a heavy bag or lift some steel.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but now it's
This is a new
So
thing
there's
that
buttons.
there's
Does
buttons.
this is there a screen like a touch
Touch
screen?
screen. You gotta have Wi-Fi, and it's virtual or it's live,
Wait. No,
like
no,
kind of like
no.
Peloton.
Wait, I got it. Wait, whoa. How do you work out virtually? Does that mean you're not doing it?
No, you're doing it. They have live classes, or it's pre-recorded, and you're following the trainer on the screen.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like you could sit in your car and work out at the machine
No,
virtually at
no,
home.
no. You have
So
to.
you like the tonal?
I was not a fan of it initially, and now I'm sold on it.
Really?
I still go to the gym, but not as much.
I heard you say a squat rack too.
I need a squat rack. That's the only thing I need. Squat rack. You got to work those legs at least twice a week. And I mean, with this tonal, you can get a full body workout. They have yoga. They have boxing. They have, some trainers on there that are celebrity trainers. Like Tony Hare Horton. Okay, P90X.
Yeah. My
So
brother did that years
I
ago.
I call him Tony Hare Horton because he's always working with his hair.
Okay.
His hair, which he did
So
get
is he a trainer
haircut.
on there?
He's a trainer on there, and he's got great program. He's what 60 years old now. Like he's a legend. Okay, he's a trainer on there. But initially, I was not sold on it because I am an old school gym rat. All right, we're talking going back to like 1982. Okay, I been in this world in this racket for a very long time. My mom said to me in high school, um, I wasn't very athletic and really wasn't into anything. I worked jobs and whatnot, but she's like, you need to get to the gym and you need to figure that out because you've got so much anxiety and energy that if you don't direct it in the right way, and they just started coming up with aerobic classes. So I've literally been in that space for a very long time. So I'm going back to working at Chicago Health Club, working at Women's Workout World, and working part-time there in the fitness space, and then going to gyms and pushing weights around. And now it's this tonal. I'm like, this is gay. Like, really? Well, now I'm a big fan of it because it saves on time and my body composition has not changed. Actually, it's the same or it's better. I'm leaner, and you're saving time and you don't need any
I need to leave
equipment.
the house.
Well, some people need to leave the house, which that was my routine. Like I'm up at, 5 a.m. going to the gym, wherever, driving an hour in the time, but it's pretty convenient.
Many moons ago, I had a
It's very
treadmill.
convenient.
Many moons ago, I had a treadmill.
And a lot of people don't use a
It was
treadmill.
an excellent place to hang my
Your
slacks,
clothes hanger.
my business.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a part too where you
Yeah.
could even
Well, part of the challenge is you don't have other people, around you that you're getting energy from. So you really have to be
maybe.
self-motivated, and it's not for everybody. Some people prefer to work out at home alone and don't want other people to see them because going to the gym can be intimidating.
I'd like to go to the gym and have nobody else there.
Yeah, well, then you need to have your own gym
Yeah, I know. It's just
because
really
they won't be in
expensive.
business.
We want to open up a gym. So last story before we end this, because I think we're probably getting close to time. Although I think we've got some good pieces today for Allison. So that treadmill I talked about having is a good coat hanger. So I went through a phase of my life way young. I mean, I was newly married, so we're talking 2007. No, before, because I was divorced in 06, so you're probably talking 2002, right? So I've got a treadmill, and I like playing. You familiar with John Madden football?
Yes.
So back in the day, the Bears had a decent team. It was the Brian Urlacher years, and so I used to like to ride the treadmill and play the game.
Yeah.
We had built a new home in Plainfield, and the treadmill's in the bedroom, right? It was the first home, so it wasn't huge, but we had the full windows, right, ceiling to floor. And I was running, and I went to make a juke move with the character, and I stepped on because I'm involved in the game, like I'm feeling it. So I step on the thing. I almost ran right out the window.
No.
My foot hit the edge, and I had enough power to propel myself off the treadmill and caught myself on the window.
So you got rid of the treadmill.
I don't do treadmills anymore.
Well, you can't multitask.
I'm just kidding.
gotta be like-
I'll do treadmills. I'm doing whatever I can to get the cardio, the
Well,
VO2 max stuff back.
I think that's important. To be a leader, you have a small young child at home, and so does Nick. That's part of my belief is that you need to lead by example, and health and fitness and mindset is like number one. And if they see you getting up and working out, it's just going to be instilled in them.
Ellie knows when I work out.
I mean, that becomes part of them. Just like what you do for a living, like it's really hard to not understand your world when you're talking it and living it and breathing it.
100%.
They pick that up. So leading a healthy lifestyle, there's just so many good things that come from it, and leading by example. Stuff you don't see, both of my children are very health conscious. Neither of them drink pop. They eat very healthy and clean,
That's good.
and I, they don't smoke. I've never smoked. But I think that they watched me. They're both, which is interesting. They're
Yeah.
both entrepreneurs now, and I think it's because they saw me go through all these changes and having to pull myself back up and figure it out. And they're like, I never want to be
Yeah, I think they always say
controlled by big
lead by
corporate.
example,
Yep.
and never be the person that says do as I say, not as I do.
No,
That's the
you
first
have
thing
to
you can say.
lead.
So
Show them.
practice what you preach.
You don't even have to tell them. Just show them.
Amen. So I think we should do this again. I think we could dig into more on where your business is, maybe in a year or 6
Yeah,
months.
yeah.
Let's touch base, see how we're doing. But
Yeah, yep.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.